good place. They just weren't getting his jokes. And he just looked at his friend in the back of the room, and he did every single private joke for that guy that no one knew what the hell he was doing.
Welcome back to Under Oath.
Nice to meet you, Jeff.
Nice to meet you too. I was a fan of your husband's. I'm also a stand-up, and I really appreciated his work.
Well, thank you. You're smart, then.
He definitely did things that it's hard for a comedian to actually have their own lane. You know, anybody could do anybody's material, but I don't think a lot of people could even try to copy your husband's material.
That is for sure. He was definitely unique. They called him the comedian's comedian. He used to say that his career walked the tightrope between early morning children's television and programming and hardcore porn.
You know, it's so amazing when you think about it. You're going, okay, the parrot from Aladdin is also this guy who tells these jokes. It was just so amazing to me.
Exactly.
And now you're putting out an album of his material. And and when does it come out?
So it ships on November 11th. It comes out the 15th of November. But the long story short is that for years I bugged Gilbert we should put out an album of his stand-up. And he thought that if he put out his material and people could buy it, they wouldn't go see his live shows. But now, unfortunately, that's not an issue. So what we did was Neil Berkeley, who made the wonderful documentary Gilberts, which you could still see, he filmed many of Gilbert's live shows, and we went through and we picked the best of the best, and we put together this incredible album. It's a 2-vinyl, 2 LP album, and Jeff Ross came up with the title, Still Screaming, and Penn Jillette wrote the liner notes. And there's an amazing gatefold collage of Gilbert with all of his friends. And the second side of the second disc actually is etched with Gilbert's artwork. Gilbert was an artist. No one knew he was an artist. And we etched the vinyl. So it's like a piece of art. It's only they're only selling 1,000 of them. And it's a great collectible.
You know, when you mentioned that he didn't want to have people listen to his material, a lot of stand-ups, and myself included, you know, we don't actually like going on stage where people actually know our material. You know, some people might have been to a show the year before, and it's hard because, you know, you want to give them something new. And some people just did that same material over and over and over again, which isn't a problem. I mean, it's a professional. You want to do it as a professional, but you don't want people to actually see the same show over and over again. Was that his concern?
Yeah, I mean, he really didn't write a lot of new material. He was, you know, towards the end, he was still doing jokes about Molly Ringwald and you know, and Gary Coleman. I mean, he didn't exactly update his act. So he thought, you know, as it is already, like he's worried people are going to see the same show. So if he puts it out, they're definitely not going to come see him, which I don't think would have been the case, but that's how he felt. So it wasn't that he didn't want to hear his material. He just didn't want to hurt his live shows.
No, I get that. It's just so difficult for me when I think about stuff like this. Like, writing is hard. People don't realize that. I mean, was it difficult for him, or was it just something he wasn't interested in?
You know, I don't know if you saw the Joan Rivers documentary, but Joan Rivers wrote down every single joke. She had thousands of jokes on note cards. Gilbert never wrote down anything. Never wrote down anything. I have a piece of paper that looks like, you know, toilet paper, basically, with one word for each joke. And that's what he wrote down. He just did not, his brain was not like a normal human brain. It was really extraordinary. He stored everything in that brain.
You know, when I think about his comedy, I think sometimes it was shocking. Sometimes you were so surprised at the joke, at how it seemed so easy coming out, and then it would just slap you in the face.
Yeah. He used to say that he'd like people to go on like a ride, like a roller coaster, and you never know what's coming next. And that's part of the beauty of being, you know, seeing a live show, a live comedy show. He takes you for a ride. So that's what this album does. It takes you for a ride, you know?
You know, it's weird for me because I saw what he died of and I had no clue what it was. I'm like going, is it terminal? Is it I mean, why don't you describe it a little bit so our listeners can maybe understand what it was?
Yeah, no one knew what it was. And I'm telling you, the doctor that he went to for 10 years didn't know what it was. No one has heard of it. It's new. I mean, it's not new, but it was only discovered maybe like 30 years ago at the hospital in Rochester, New York, where I'm donating the money. But it's a form of muscular dystrophy. It's a genetic disease. So it's one of his parents had to have had it. We don't know who. And it's rare. But it's basically, it affected, he was having some issues getting up the stairs, putting his bag above his head on the airplane. It affects your muscles. So but it's adult onset. So you don't know about it until you're an adult.
Now,
If you go to gilbertgottfried.com and you click on donate now, there's a whole page where we talk about what it is.
the weird thing is it's so hard because I have a girlfriend and she's seen my set a million times and she comes to all my shows. I mean, how tough is it for you when you sit out in the audience and you're going, okay, the joke worked, it didn't work, or even just paying attention to the same jokes you've heard 50 times?
Oh, well, you start looking at it with a different lens, right? Like, oh, this audience is great and he's feeding off this audience, or this audience is not so great, or whatever, So, yeah, I definitely look at it more objectively. But I really, my background's in the music business. I did radio promotion for years. So, and then I managed Gilbert and I started the podcast, and I like projects and I like making things happen, And I'm really now trying to keep his legacy alive because he deserves it, and I'm hoping I could help somebody with finding out about this disease, and I hope that his comedy brings people joy still, and it lives on forever, just like the podcast. My kids are now 15 and 17, and just now they're discovering the podcast, and they're learning so much about Hollywood history from their father. How cool is that?
It's amazing. It's just, I can imagine how hard it is. You're, having a father that was larger than life, and, suddenly he's gone, and, you have these memories and the whole world has them in a way.
They're doing great though. Yeah. But he definitely left his impact, and, like I said, I'm doing my best to keep his legacy alive, and it's, the podcast is great. I mean, we interviewed everyone from, you name it. I mean, Dick Van Dyke to Carl Reiner to Norman Lear to Chevy to, Weird Al, everybody. So it's an incredible, history of Hollywood history. Archive, that's the word I was looking for. Well, the podcast is free. You can listen to it. You go to gilbertgottfried.com. And the album is fantastic.
Well, my daughter's 18 years old. She wants to be an actress. She's in college for acting. They get a little piece of us. Do you see him in your kids?
Oh yeah, totally. My son is hysterical. He's acting as well. He's done a couple movies professionally, and he definitely is interested in that field. And my daughter wants to be a filmmaker. She's applying to film schools right now for college, and she made a wonderful documentary about Gilbert's artwork called The Hidden Talent of Gilbert Gottfried. And she won a ton of awards for it. And she just made another documentary. So let's see. It's exciting as having teenagers to see what happens with their lives, right?
When he didn't do well, did he acknowledge it, or did he just like, okay, it's just another show?
He doubled down. When he didn't do well, he doubled down, and he wouldn't give a crap. He loved it. He would start doing jokes just for himself, or if he had one friend. I remember one time he had a friend in the back of the room, and the good place, they just weren't getting his jokes. And he just looked at his friend in the back of the room, and he did every single private joke for that guy that no one knew what the hell he was doing. And Gilbert had the best time. They used to put him on to clear the audience, like late night when he was first starting. They would put him on last to clear out the rest of the. And he loved it. He didn't care.
Oh, that's hysterical.
He didn't care.
Now was he surprised by, when you do like a big Disney character and everybody recognizes that voice? Was he happy about it? Was he surprised by it? Was it something he did for kids?
Like I said, he was a gentle soul underneath that persona. So doing Iago was one of his favorite projects. In fact, just last week I was walking the dog down the street. Our dog is named Princess Jasmine, and I ran into Princess Jasmine. I ran into Lynd Larkin right on our street, and we ended up taking a long walk with the dog and rehashing some fun stories. But Gilbert loved doing Aladdin. That was one of his favorite projects ever.
Well, I can't tell you how I love talking to people to give me the history behind some of my favorite comedians. I thought your husband was brilliant. His material was definitely his delivery. You'll never have anything like that again. And the album gets released.
On the 15th, but you could buy it now. There's limited edition. We're only selling 1,000 of them of the vinyl. It's called Still Screaming. Gilbert Gottfried Still Screaming, and you could go to Clown, as in like a clown, CLOWN Jewels JEWELS.com and pre-order it now, and it'll ship to you on November 11th. And if you want more information about the charity, or if you want Gilbert's artwork, which I say is great for gifts for Christmas, go to gilbertgottfried.com.
Well, I really appreciate it, and I can't thank you enough for talking to you. Take care and good luck with the album.
This was wonderful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.